everybody. Welcome to the Green Architects Lounge podcast. I'm your host, Chris Briley.
And I'm your host, Phil Kaplan. Here we are again, Chris.
Here we are again. It's a real pleasure.
As always.
Yeah.
I'm excited about today's episode.
Oh, it's a long time coming.
This is so, for those of you who don't remember us talking about this was our very first episode when we talked about windows. Back must have been...
Our very first episode, yeah.
15 years ago?
2010.
Yeah.
Was when we first did it. And it was awful. It was awful. It was awful because we're like guys who just like, it was a lot like what we're doing now.
Yeah.
Just chit chatting. And if you tuned in to learn about windows, you're like, come on guys, I don't care about your whatever's going on in your life.
Right. I think I was joking about your hairstyle or something like that.
Yeah. I was joking about yours.
Yeah. Back when I had hair.
Yeah.
Oh,
you still got bits of it.
Got a few hairs. Yeah.
All right. So here we are again. Let's focus.
All right.
Windows. It's going to be very important, and we're not going to get through it without first having a cocktail.
That's right. So let's talk about this cocktail. So this is the
SHGC.
Get it?
Or shaken honey gin cocktail.
That's right.
Or sudsy honey gin cocktail. Cheers.
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 You see the suds? I don't know if you can see the suds there.
Mm. Oh, that is good.
So we wanted a clear cocktail. And our inspiration was an old school cocktail called the Cornell cocktail.
Yeah.
But we varied it a little bit because we like doing it.
Yeah.
We had to come up with a clever pun for the name. So it's shaken with honey.
Honey in the foam.
That's right.
We're going to talk about how you did that in a little bit. And
gin.
How many ounces of that, Phil?
In 1.5 ounces of this.
Yeah.
Quarter ounce of simple that you make with honey, which is just
simple honey. Yeah.
Simple honey. It's just a half honey, half hot water. Shake it so it stirs up. But what you want to do is shake it with egg foam.
Right.
So I'll get to that in a second.
Right.
It's also made with Cointreau.
Yeah. How many ounces?
Half ounce of, and then half ounce of Cointreau.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
A bar spoon of absinthe, because we like to be fancy.
Makes a difference in this one.
And
of course,
half ounce
lemon juice.
That's right. But one of the funnest things about this is that we get to shake an egg in there. So basically you want to get rid of the egg yolk, so you're left with the egg white. You want to dry shake it alone before you add all the stuff. You want to start to get a little bit foamy. And then you want to take a little bit of the honey simple and shake it in so your foam is a little sweet.
Right. So the foam itself is sweet, which is nice.
Yeah. So it becomes a beautiful, not so clear anymore.
Right.
It started clear.
Yeah, the clarity all went away, but we got the SHGC thing going on. And if you don't know what SHGC is as it relates to Windows, well, you're going to, because we're going to talk about it.
But first, we're going to let our sponsors say a couple words. We're grateful for our sponsors for all they do for us. They put out good products.
Yeah, and the sponsors that we have are products that we use and specify all the time. And so stick around, listen to what they have to say, and come right back and we'll talk about Windows.
Good morning, this is Chris, Logic Windows and Doors, proud sponsors of the BS and Beer Show as well as Green Architects Lounge. Excited that after the first episode 15 years ago with Phil Kaplan and Chris Briley, it now has a larger audience, a bigger platform so that we can push the envelope for good building, smart design. I started Logic Windows and Doors 10 years ago with a focus on providing European style windows and doors here in the Northeast without having to wait 16 weeks, unload containers, deal with poor service. And so we've got this wonderful history which include multifamily projects, passive certified single families, low-rise passive multifamily, just a tremendous amount of backlog. We were involved in some university work and many fine homes here in the Northeast. It's our pleasure to offer Logic to a broader audience. We've taken 10 years to build a foundation where we feel like we're ready to serve a broader audience. We've been New England and Northeast based for these 10 years, but we look forward to providing this product nationwide as we move forward. Currently, we have two profiles, an 86 millimeter and an 82 millimeter. We have plans for an aluminum system, thermally broken. So lots of great things coming for Logic. I see the industry demand continuing to grow as we as a small group continue to talk about building science and high performance. It started as a small ember many years ago, 20 years ago, visiting some of these guys in the Northeast, some of the trendsetters, listening to Mark Rosenbaum and Rick Renner, working with the folks, the authors of the Pretty Good House book, Michael Maines, Chris Briley, Dan Colbert, Emily Mottram. This is sort of like the Plymouth Rock, perhaps, of high performance, where we just started clamoring and driving the industry forward. We're starting to see changes in the code here. And I think through our voices, we'll continue to demand higher performance. What I like to say is Logic is a product that is easily obtainable. It sort of falls in that builder grade Anderson/Marvin price point, and it's backed by a wonderful service team. So excited to be a sponsor, and looking forward to a continued partnership with BS and Beer and the Green Architects Lounge. Cheers.
And we're back.
Thanks for
Sorry.
Thanks for saving me.
Hey, no, you did great.
And we're back.
And we're back.
All right. So why are we talking about windows, Chris?
Oh my gosh.
The answer is clear.
The puns are heavy with, you are such a pain, Phil. You're such a pain with your puns.
I can see why.
Yeah. So we are talking about them because it is something we find ourselves talking about with every project a lot, because from an energy standpoint, these things have a lot of power over how much heat you lose through the envelope, how much heat you gain because of the sun. They're super expensive. They're one of the biggest ticket line items that you have on that schedule of values. And it's also something that architects and clients alike love. Glass and glazing and windows, they're like candy. They just, I don't know how many times have you had a client who's just like, I got this beautiful view, I want more glass.
That's right, all the time. So, and this is one of these things that as architects, we need to get smart. We need to empower ourselves because we love glass. Let's face it, we want to build buildings with a lot of glass. And the problem is that even the best window is about, let's say, 25% of the R value of the wall.
Right.
Right? So
it's a terrible
it's
wall.
Awful. It's like the worst wall we can think of. So the more glass we have in a window or in a building, the uphill, more of an uphill climb we have in terms of sustainability.
Right.
So as architects, we got to know this. Like we have to really nail, I don't want to nail windows, but
you don't
nail the concept of knowing about building science and windows.
Right. And if you're a designer or an architect and you've actually, started to, or even a homeowner and started to wrestle with that decision, what window should I use? And what kind of window? What kind of glazing should I do? Double pane? Should I do triple pane? Casements or whatever? Oh my gosh, the options are staggering,
right?
Especially the more you dig into it, and it starts to get technical fast.
Very, very quickly.
Right. So, that we're going to do this podcast to kind of like be your guides. We're going to walk through it all, because these windows, like you were saying, they're terrible walls. They leak heat compared to your wall so much more. But they also have this other feature of when the sun is out, you gain.
Yeah, you get free heat, right?
Right. Yeah, the sun rises and sets every day.
Yeah.
That's free light and heat for you to enjoy, but you got to capture it and deal with it in the right way.
Yeah, and I think that there's an extra layer that we have as architects, right? So because the quality of light in the house is super important, right? You can't just say, I want a wall glass to the south, and as much as possible is not good even for the quality of light or the enjoyment of the outside if it doesn't feel good inside. So we have to understand how to balance light.
Right.
And often that means that we have to put windows where we don't normally think they're going to do anything for us thermally. Right. So we want to think about the quality of light, how space feels.
It's such a good point. I'm glad you brought that up because, like, you know the pattern language, Christopher Alexander.
Oh yeah, I love that.
He's got a pattern in there. Or I should say they. It's not just he's like the first author, but there's a bunch of them. But there's it's the patterns of life and the patterns that repeat in all the good buildings, or whatever. And one of them is light on two sides of every room.
Oh yeah,
and that we're talking about glare, the phenomenon of glare. I don't mean like these lights are blinding me. I mean, like, if you've ever been in like a retail space or something like that where all the light's coming just from one side, it's just like it feels like a dark cave, even though you know that whole wall is glass. Why does it feel that way? It's just you just have really bad rendering of the objects, and it's just light from one side. You just pop in a little light from the other direction, boom, it's just balanced, and now all of a sudden it's a bright room. You didn't add much.
That's right.
But you balanced it a little bit more. So there's a design element to it too. So
let us help you feel empowered.
All right.
Want to talk numbers?
Oh my gosh, we're gonna get right into let's do it. Sure.
Yeah.
So like
we're hitting our marks, Chris. We got timing here.
Oh my gosh,
we're doing great.
We're already head and shoulders above the very first episode we ever did.
So there's something called the National Fenestration Rating Council.
Yeah.
NFRC. So you'll hear that thrown around in almost any time you start digging in a little deeper into the numbers. Yeah. And there's two huge things that they discuss. And one is, to match the cocktail, solar heat gain coefficient. Right? And the other one is U factor.
Right.
So not U value. Technically, it's U factor.
Technically, yes. And that is because
I still say U value.
And that's okay. It's because you had that moment in your career of fear where you said R factor, and someone said, no, that's not a factor. It's just a value, because the U factor. So, all right, let's buckle up.
Oh yeah.
So
if you didn't have glasses on already, I would put them on you right now.
Right. Okay, nerds. So so the U factor, we're gonna focus on that. It's about resistance. It's about insulation, if you want to think of it that way. It's about conduction through this window, and U is a factor. It's a decimal point. So you multiply this in your energy equation. U is the value that you multiply your equation, use in your equation to figure out how much heat you're losing across this material. And so R value, if you're familiar with R values, is the reciprocal of U value. And the insulation industry came up with that. We've kind of covered this before, and I'm sure you nerds have already heard all this before, but it's so much easier to think of like R4 is better than R2. In fact, it's twice as good as R2.
That's right.
But if it's U of 0.25, you
gotta flip it upside down.
Yeah.
It's U is the inverse of R.
Right. So thank you. Did I not say that? I said reciprocal. Inverse. Yeah. Same thing.
Yeah.
So like the smaller your U value is, the higher your insulation value is. And that was a rough concept, so they just introduced R, which is value. U is a factor because it's science, and that's what we use. Okay.
That's right. So the higher, as we all know, if you listen to this podcast, higher R is good. We talk about R40 walls, R60 roofs. A lower U is better.
Right. So if you can think of it this way, a U of 0.25, and we see glass like that, that's R4. It's like 0.25 is 1/4, 1/4. So flip that, it's like R4.
Yeah.
So get out your calculators if you really want to know R values, if you need to translate it. But if you get used to it, you'll start thinking of it in U factors.
That's right.
I almost said values, but whatever. Yeah. So when you're looking at your window, the lower the U value is, the more insulated it is.
So we're going to look at like a maximum U factor.
Right.
For instance, in zone 6 where we are, I believe it's 0.3.
Yes. Yeah.
Does that sound right?
Yes. But you're gonna you'll go to the Anderson catalog or Marvin or one of those things. You'll see a 0.28, and you'll be like, hey, that's better than 3, or 0.22. Oh, that's even better than 0.28. You were right. And the point that you made about the NFRC, the reason why this council is a really important thing is because they are testing these numbers. And so like if you're a window manufacturer, you want to get on their list so that you can actually have these numbers and have them sort of certified by a third party so that others trust it. But here's the thing. If you go to the NFRC website and you want to look up your window, you're going to get a U value, a solar heat gain coefficient, which we'll talk about, visual transmittance and all that. And all that is about the whole window. There's a standard window size. And if you imagine windows, there's the European windows, are big chunky frames, Phil. Yes, they do. That factors into it. Like if your frames are thinner, you have more glass than frame.
Right. What is the U factor of the frame?
Right. And in my design, I have all these windows they're ginormous, and so they're not as interrupted. So like the U of the frame might be, the U value of the frame might be really important. It might be changing these values.
Turns out it's very important because it's very different. And
Right.
so you'll see a factor that also is frame versus center of glass.
Right.
So the center of glass will be more insulating than the frame typically.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't want to jump to design, and we're not going to, but like, if you look at it just from a simple technical standpoint, the bigger the window, like if you can do one 10 by 5 by 10 versus two 5 by 5s, it's better to do one 5 by 10 because you have more center of glass, and that's a higher insulating value.
Right.
So as a general rule of thumb, make your windows bigger instead of splitting them up.
That's a good rule of thumb. So because of this U factor, when you're energy modeling, like we always do, I just hit my mic. I'm sorry, that's going to be a big punch in the sound system. Sorry. When you're modeling, you're looking at the U value, and I always want the U value of the glass because that's how we model in Woofy and that sort of thing. And that information is not always readily available because they'll show you our NFRC U value rating is X. You got to kind of drill down and get that out of the glass. So U is insulation value. So you want lower almost always.
Always.
Yeah.
Right. Always. Always. Let's say always.
It's always better to be more insulated than not.
Right.
But let's talk about solar heat gain coefficient, or SHGC.
Right.
Like
so if I'm, that's right.
SHGC. Are we going to drink every time?
Every time we say the word SHGC.
No, it's going to be. We'll be hammered by the time we're done with this section.
And SHGC technically goes from 0 to 1.
Right.
So one of the things you have to get used to in your mind is like, what is a good SHGC cocktail? And we'll split them.
Oh, okay.
So one of the things you have to get used to in your mind is what is a good SHGC number.
Right, and it depends on your climate. Yeah. So, as you said, like a solar heat gain coefficient is how much heat gain this piece of glass is letting, how much light energy in the form of heat it's letting into the house. So if you have solar heat gain of 0, SHGC of 0,
right? It's like it's not even a piece of glass, probably.
It's not even really a piece of glass, or it is the most clear glass in the world, and all the spectrum of the sun's waves are going right through it. And if it's 1, then it's probably opaque, and you can't see through it. I don't want to get seeing and because there's a visible light, and then there's infrared, and there's ultraviolet. The spectrum of waves coming at you from the sun is mammoth compared to what we actually see. And with glass, we want to see through it. So it's the visible stuff that we want to take advantage of. But when you're designing your house and you're doing some passive solar design, what are you doing? You're increasing the amount of glass on the south side because that's in our northern hemisphere. That's where the sun is. And if you're doing a good job, you're also shading it to block the high solar rays from the summer, and you're letting in the lower summer rays in the winter, so you get more heat gain. Well, the higher your solar heat gain coefficient number is, the more heat gain you can have. And the real trick in the early days of the passive house design was to try and let in as much of that as you can.
That's right. It was really good for the modeling, wasn't it?
For the model, yeah. So the times are different. Even back then.
And we'll talk a little bit more about that in detail and geek out a little bit. But higher lets in more light. Like the closer you are to 1, like a 0.8 is a pretty clear piece of glass. And so
have I been talking it backwards?
You talked about it a little bit backwards first.
Oh my God,
that's okay.
people. I blame this cocktail.
But we got it.
Yeah, but I feel like starting over, but whatever. So what did I say? Did I say the 0? All right.
Yeah.
1, all right.
Yeah. 1, it lets in all the light. 0 is a solid black piece of whatever. It's not glass because it doesn't let in any light at all. So a low solar heat gain coefficient of like in the 0.2 to 0.5 or something, or 0.2 to 0.3 or something like that.
Sure.
All right, so that doesn't allow much light in, okay? But
heat
in. Thank you.
Yeah.
It doesn't allow much heat in.
Right.
But if you've got something like a 0.7 or a 0.8, that's a much clearer glass, and that'll let a lot more heat in.
Right. So, Phil, if I'm designing this passive solar house and I want the heat, then I have a high solar heat gain coefficient.
That's right.
Pane of glass.
That's right.
The higher that solar heat gain coefficient is, the better.
Maybe. But we're finding things that are a little bit different when you're talking about passive house calculations now. With Fias, is it okay if I get into this a little bit?
Go for it.
All right. So Chris knows this because he does a lot of his own modeling. I don't do as much energy modeling on my own anymore. We have a sustainability specialist, and their name is Kai Fast, and they're fantastic. And I sat down with Kai to talk about their direct experience with what's going on with Fias. Mm-hmm. We used to think, boy, we're in climate zone 6, but it doesn't matter quite as much because with Fias, you can have high solar heat gain and you get lots of free heat, and that looks really good for the energy model. Turns out that Fias has tuned the way they do things. And it's really more about human comfort these days. And when we're in climate zone 6, that we are not expected to have much cooling. Right. So if we artificially overheat our houses, one, it's not really good for human comfort, which is the whole point of it. And 2, our cooling loads are expected to be low anyway. So once we do that and we have to crank up our cooling, then that will fail in passive house.
Right.
How'd I do?
You did really well.
Okay, he's the energy
guy. Yeah. It used to be passive house, so hungry for heat in our climate zone. Heat. And I was even finding myself doing things that I knew were wrong just because it's going to satisfy the model at the time. Things have gotten much more corrected with Fias. And so I remember trying to get glass from Europe to have a 0.7 something solar heat gain coefficient, which, we're talking about a glass that would fade furniture, just like old days, because of the spectrum of light that was going to let in, and your house will convert it to heat. Sorry. And so those times are different, and you don't want that. You want to strike a nice balance of comfort. It is true here in our cold climate, we're going to want a solar heat gain coefficient that is higher than you would want in Florida. You'd want it about as low as you could possibly get it.
Right, probably under a 0.25.
If you can.
Yeah.
But then the trick there is the other metric, which is VT, which is visual transmittance.
That's right. So visual transmittance is really interesting, and it's really about how much light you can see through the window, right?
Right.
That's how I think of it as visible.
Yeah, and
I usually think of it like seeing out.
Yes.
Like when I think about, like, I don't know whether it's in or out, and if there's a difference, I'm not sure.
I don't know either. I mean,
OE has a difference between the in and out, so we'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
But when I think about VT, or visible light transmittance, that's also a 0 to 1, as I usually think of, and like above a 0.5 is a pretty clear window, and when you get down to like 0.4s, 0.3s, they start to get a little yellow and green and gray.
Oh gosh, I think if you're into the 0.4, if you're like 0.44, 0.45, whatever, then it should be like, that's like tinted glass.
Right.
Like it is, you notice it.
So there was a time when we were working really hard to play with these windows. And so you'd have a very clear glass to the south, and you'd have a darker glass to the north, just because somewhat the solar heat gain coefficient correlated with the visible transmittance. And that's not always the case. It's not a direct one-to-one ratio. So you can get things that have a better visible transmittance and a lower solar heat gain coefficient now. But the problem is we were kind of tricking ourselves a little bit too much. We've been a little too fancy. And I remember one installation that we had a north side and an east side facing, and they had two different VTs. And you could look at them and say, "Oh, why is that window green?"
That's a
I'm not
rough.
gonna do that again.
Yeah, that's you get to make that mistake once.
I outsmarted myself. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's so in the combination of things you're looking for, U value, you want to be low, so you have a very insulated window. So you'll notice the U value is much lower for triple pane than it is for double pane. You got to know your climate for your solar heat gain coefficient and whether or not you want a lot of heat or whether you don't. And it also depends on, the space you've designed. If you have a lot of glass and it's facing south, you want a lower solar heat gain coefficient, because otherwise in the summertime, you're going to cook yourself out. Or actually, in our climate, it's going to be August and September when the sun is lower and coming right in. Man, it's a cookout. So if you can bring that solar heat gain coefficient down, then you keep yourself from cooking. But as you bring that down, you'll watch the visual transmittance also go down. You want that number to be more transparent, to be a higher number. So this is all achieved, the solar heat gain coefficient and visual transmittance variations are all achieved with coatings on the glass. Are we ready to have that conversation?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to close this up by saying these are a lot of numbers that we're throwing out.
Yeah.
There are some rules of thumb that make it a little simpler, right? So again, we used to tune by elevation, and we're not doing that as much anymore.
No.
Yeah, so really, if you're speccing one kind of window for a house, you probably should stick with it and rely on your energy model and understand what your goals are and make sure you're hitting them. And then that'll help you from going crazy.
Yeah. And in the old days, it used to be the same glass, like the Anderson, for example. I'm picking an Anderson, but the same glass that window manufacturer sold was the same glass in Florida as it was in Maine, as it was in Minnesota, as it was in Nevada, which was maddening and crazy to us but they've dialed into it now, especially with the low E coatings. Now low E used to be special to.
Yeah, I remember there was a point in time where a client would say, "What do you know about windows?" "Oh, we want low E windows."
Oh yeah,
it would be on the list. It's the thing they understood was good that
Right.
they had to have. They didn't really understand what it was.
I think it's going to be harder to get them without now.
Right now, everything's low.
So now it's all what kind of low E you want, and that stands for low emissivity. Emissivity.
You got it.
Okay, sometimes. And so with that low emissivity, you are blocking some manner of the spectrum of light, and what you're trying to do is either keep heat from entering your glass, or I'm switching to another pane of glass on the inside, you're trying to keep the heat in your house through that coating. So if you imagine your glass having coatings,
this is the sun going through.
So like
this is the
right. So your solar coatings, there are things called solar coatings that are meant to block that the shorter long wave, the shorter wavelength, heat wavelength from the sun. And then you have the passive ones that are meant to retain the heat, the longer wavelengths from the inside. Yeah. And so you'll see when you start digging into coatings and glazing, if you're like ordering your windows from Europe and they have a whole menu of glass, you can really nerd out on which kinds of glass you want and in what configuration in your panes. If you imagine having a triple pane, there's 6 faces.
Here we go.
There we go. There's 3 of us. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 faces. And as we're going through that, thank you. The poor listeners.
Anytime.
Poor listeners on the podcast will be like, I wonder what they did there.
We're miming the whole thing.
That's a secret. Anyway, so you have 6 surfaces upon which you could apply a film, but you're not going to put it on the extremes 1 and 6. You're not going to put them on the exterior and the interior. You're going to put them on the inner surfaces.
Right, and I just presume that protects them. You're not going to expose
Exactly
them
right. That's exactly
this
why.
stuff.
That's exactly why. And so those coatings, you'll see nomenclature for. Here's a secret: like in America, Cardinal Glass is like the cartel of glazing.
Mhm.
Like they are, I believe, they are the providers for the Trinity of American Windows, Pella, Marvin, Anderson. You know, they all get it from Cardinal.
Mhm.
And if you look at their glazings, they all have like somewhat similar but different names or whatever.
But I mean, like the 180 versus the 272 and the.
Well, no, I meant like I forget what they call them. But you'll see the same numbers a lot.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So like the 180 fill means that you have 180. That's one coat.
Yeah, this is interesting because
Yeah.
we had heard this and I wasn't quite sure, but sure enough, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah. So one coat.
Yeah.
So 180 means it's one coat, and when that coating is done, it's going to have a VT, a visual transmittance, of about 80. But it's going to have other properties that that coating is going to say, or something like that. So if you have a 366, it means
3 coats.
About
the VT is about 66.
Okay, but then if I'm using that coating on one side and the 180 on the other side,
and you've got a clear piece of glass in the middle.
Well, I better figure out what my VT is by that glass, not by the films. But the point about the films is so that you know that these are there and what they're doing. And so when someone's throwing you all these numbers and jargon, you're like, I don't know. Yeah, you do. It's just coatings, and all they're doing is managing the wavelengths, and usually there's a lot of, when you're done with the glass, you're going to come back down to the exact same numbers of U value, total solar heat gain coefficient, and visual transmittance.
Right. So don't get lost in all those technical terms
Coatings
and
and
technical
stuff.
numbers and coatings. You're not really, even we don't really need to know it.
Right.
You'll see.
It's very nuanced, but that's what's going on there.
Yeah.
What
other numbers can we talk about?
Well, before since we got into the glass and the chambers and stuff.
Oh yeah.
There's fillings. There's like.
That's right.
There's fillings and spacers.
So you've got inert gases that are sitting now between your panes. So you've got a triple glazed window, let's say. Well, it works the same with a double. Yeah. But if you have a triple and you have 3 panes, you can have nothing in there. You could just have air, or you could have argon.
Right.
Or kryptonite is the one that I've heard.
Krypton,
not kryptonite. See,
right. If it were a rock that fell out of space, then it would be kryptonite. But if it's a gas,
I keep that stuff away from me.
Right. Yeah, I know, because you have your powers.
Exactly.
So basically, these gases, the molecules are more spread apart in argon than they are in air, nitrogen, whatever, which is what you usually have. So that you have more insulation value in there. And a lot of people really hang their hats on that argon. But a lot of people say, well, but eventually that, over time, that argon is going to bounce its way out. Mm-hmm. It's going to find and get slowly replaced with nitrogen or something like that. But if you have gaskets that blow out, it happens a lot less. Back in the 80s and 90s, it seemed to happen all the time. Mm-hmm. Like there's double pane, the gaskets went, and then they kind of fogged up inside.
Yeah, they fogged up.
And
they would suck closer to each other. You ever have that?
Yeah. And then you have so that's what that means. And you will get a little bump in U value, or a little drop in U value.
And it's usually worth it because the additional cost of adding argon tends to be not much.
Right. And just know that may not be a completely permanent 100-year solution. That argon in 100 years might be gone.
Right. But I can't think of anything where I said no argon because we don't.
Yeah.
You just go for it.
Right, and Krypton. Oh, yes, please. That sounds really fancy because Superman will never get through your windows with those. But and there's also the spacers. The
warm edge spacers.
Warm edge spacers. So this is going to play. So if you're really nerding out, there's a thing called psi value. Because if you imagine there's a U value of the glass, and then there's a U value of the frame.
Can I try this one? Because
yes, please do.
Again, here's the passive house geek. But here's, in layman's terms, how I understand this.
Yeah.
Is that you effectively over-insulate the windows. You add insulation on top of the frame.
Yeah.
So you're giving those frame values a little boost.
Are you talking about the frame in the wall or the glass in the frame? Those are both psi values.
Then my answer is I don't know.
Okay. Well, So the psi, it's like the Greek letter psi. P.S. Right.
Oh.
Not but you have the U value of the frame, you have the U value of the glass. But what happens when the frame and the glass are kind of sandwiched with each other? Psi value is a two-dimensional. Now I'm getting really nerdy, but it's basically
You can't help yourself.
it's a thing. It's a two-dimensional subtraction from the energy of the flow in your model based on that little thing. It's super minuscule, it's super nerdy. But you have the same situation when you've modeled your wall and it's full U value, and you've modeled the frame. They engage each other, and just like you were saying, you tend to want to over insulate over your frame in a European window style thing, just to help improve that U value. And so you can have a different psi value that could improve your total energy model.
Right. And the way I think of it is that you over insulate to the exterior because you've got a tilt turn window that opens to the interior.
Right.
So you can insulate over that.
But here's the thing: if you're talking about the psi value with your window rep, chances are likely you already are an energy nerd, my friend, and you've been yelling at us about the things we're getting wrong or taking too much time to explain or explaining it wrong. So everyone relax about psi value if you see that.
Can we talk a little bit about DP ratings?
Oh yes, that is another thing. Yeah.
So this is something that I learned early on in my career as an architect.
Right.
We used to talk about a lot about, like, if you had a building that was a double hung on the water, you needed to know what its design pressure rating was, DP rating. And that is based on water leakage, air leakage, and structural. Those are the three things that make up design pressure rating. And they had these sort of things, milestones for DP. And it got complicated because there's a DP rating for residential and there's one for light commercial, and it gets a little weird.
It gets even weirder than that, Phil, because like those are three things you're measuring, water leakage, air leakage, and structural load. But to get your DP rating of, let's say DP 50, if it's a design pressure of 50, the 50 actually refers to, and I hope I get this right, 8 inches of water at a 50 mile per hour wind, or
8 inches of rain at 50 miles per hour.
Thank you. I think I got it written down. So, but it also means like air leakage at, it's something else.
75 pounds per square foot.
Yeah.
Airtight at 25 miles per hour.
Right. And so those things are your DP50, but you only have to meet 2 of the 3.
Oh.
So which 2? So like manufacturers
one from column A and one from column B.
Yeah, exactly. And so if you meet 2 of those things, congratulations, you have a DP50 window and you can go sell it that way. And so a lot of people who are designing on the coast, like that's where we tuned in, like early on in our days of design for the DP ratings of these windows. You put a DP 25 window out on an island,
and it's gonna
good night, Irene. You're done.
Move. It's gonna leak. You're gonna have trouble in storms. It's gonna be awful. Right. So that was
you're gonna get a call.
25 was awful. If you did 25, you had the option sometimes on a casement of having an extra lock installed, so you could really get it airtight if it's a larger window. But truth be told, with our Euro tilt turns, we don't really have as many issues. And in fact, casements that open outward, when you have water pressure against the sash, it pushes it against the gasket. So it really improves it in a funny way.
Yeah.
So, good thing that tilt turns are good, because the pressure for those tilt turns that open inside actually push those sashes inside. So they have to be good and solid.
Yeah, where it really counts is on doors, because you got doors go all the way to the floor, and that's they're constantly opening, and it's you have a design pressure that's low, and you're out on the coast, and that wind kicks up. That rain comes at you horizontal sometimes, and that will find its way under the door, on your nice floor, and into your basement, and you get the phone call, and that's not great.
And the reality is there's some people who are building, I've done it, right? So I've done a high performance home, but the client wants double hung windows.
Yeah.
It's a tricky one, but there's ways to do it. And that's when you really start having to pay attention to something like the DP rating.
Right.
Because your tilt turns, even your casements naturally lock down good and tight, but it's those other windows, particularly those that don't.
And if you're saying to yourself, well, it sounds like we should have a better system than this 2 out of 3 and then go market it kind of scenario. Well, there is a thing called, the PG or performance grade ratings that I'm seeing a lot more prevalent now. And I feel like the industry is having this shift to the PG system instead of a DP. So a PG rated window fill is not one that only has swearing and suggestive sexual content.
Oh, I remember my first PG window.
Mine too. How old are you?
I was about 13.
Okay.
No, that.
No, but so PG window stands for performance grade, and it's based on hurricane storm ratings. I think that's so good. So like if you have a PG 10, that's a category 1, hurricane force. So if you have a PG 2, it's designed to withstand a category 2, et cetera, et cetera. So if you have a PG 50, that's designed to withstand a category 5 hurricane.
That's insane.
In the face. That's 157 mile per hour winds plus.
Can you see through that window?
I'm nowhere near that window at that point.
Yeah, right. I'm not looking at anything. I'm getting the hell out of there.
Exactly. Yeah, you shouldn't be around for that. But if you are, there are very hurricane. Let's say you've got a rich client in. Well, I'm gonna say Jamaica now because that place just got.
Yeah, it got shellacked.
But that could be a real difference. And knowing these ratings, especially if you've got clients who are really concerned about this, or you're really concerned about this, that's how you go handle that sort of thing.
I'm going to turn a corner, Chris. I want to talk a little bit about our design choices. Like we've talked a lot about glass, but there's other aspects of the windows.
Sure, yeah.
That we can talk about. Like when we're specifying, there's the operation, or lack thereof.
Right.
There's the size of the window.
Yeah.
There's the finish inside and out, for instance.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about those.
All right.
Where do you want to start?
Well, I kind of want to start. Like, I bet people out there are just like, Phil, what windows do you use in your house designs? What windows do you use?
Okay, that's a good question.
Yeah.
We use it depends on the situation, right? So right now we specify a lot of logic windows.
Oh, okay.
Is that what you're talking about? Like brands?
I didn't know we were going to get into brands, but I thought we were going to get into types. Types like triple pane.
All right, so ask me again. Yeah.
You can actually say brands that people ran them down. Logic window, good company.
We use a lot of logic windows.
Yeah.
But in terms of the kinds of windows, okay, so we use a lot of, depending on the budget of the project.
Right.
We'll specify a logic window because it's an American window. It's affordable and it's really high performance. So that means it's got a short lead time.
Yeah. Short in quotes, air quotes.
In quotes.
I mean, because is there a truly short lead time window?
No, but it's local, right? So it's in my local. I mean, it's in the States. It's not a Euro window.
Pennsylvania.
Right. So it's for us. It's not that far.
Right.
And it hits a lot of marks, and it's a good price point.
Right.
If we're doing something a little different, like it's a wood window,
right,
or a wood clad window,
yeah,
then we change our specs. So we're using a bunch of macro windows right now.
Great window. I like macro window.
Yeah. So what about you?
Very similar, but also maybe this is where we insert windows are very local. Like these manufacturers that we're actually mentioning now, might be really hard for you to get in your region, and so it's almost like you'll have the same kind of companies, just different. Just different brands and that type of thing. So like, we've been using a lot of European style tilt turn windows, and that's to get the numbers that we talked about, get those in a nice robust, setting for the house and the performance of the house. Because we find with the European tilt turn windows, you can get really seriously low U values, and you can get very decent solar heat gain coefficients and visual transmittance, and they seal like crazy, and they seal like vaults. So your DP ratings are great, and they're all in the same price as, like, say, a domestic, normal casement style window or something like that.
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree with that. I find that they're more expensive in general.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. Did I say that
they're in the same price range? Yeah,
they're in the same price range. I don't know. I'll name names. Like Marvin, good quality product. great service on those guys. For Marvin, like their performance might be less than the European tilt turn, and they're the same price or even more often. And we found. But this is the thing. You have to timestamp this because like in a year it changes, and
when we do our next window podcast in another 15 years,
it'll be all different. We'll be like, can you believe we said that about Marvin? Can you believe it? Because so like this is the thing.
Yeah, glass was always the same. It didn't used to change color when you pressed a button or thought about it.
Yeah, I used my mind and it just changed. Yeah, I had AI do it for me, whatever. But no, so let's begin to talk generically then. So like your operations, you've got your classic double hung.
That's right. Up and down 2 sashes, or sometimes it's a single hung.
Yeah.
Where the top sash is fixed and the bottom sash moves up and down.
Yeah.
And you've got your casements that open outward.
Oftentimes with a little crank, but not necessarily. They have new ones that and push out. Those are cool. And then you have awnings, which are the kind, they
open from the top.
They hinge at the top, open from the bottom.
Right.
Yep.
And then you get your hoppers, which do the opposite.
Right. And usually those open inward because they're basically, if they opened out, they'd just be catching the rain and funneling it inside.
Which is kind of funny to think about.
Yeah. And then you have your tilts. Those would be the hopper would be also your tilt window.
Right.
And then your turn window, which you usually hear as a tilt turn window, it does both. In that you turn the handle 90 degrees, let's say, and it swings in, and you kind of close it and go all the way, and it just hops in.
It does both.
Top. It does both.
It's kind of magical, really. Cool.
It is, and we've been using those so much more than I think any other. The European tilter.
Yeah, and so do we. And I think it's still a learning curve for clients who want to know, what are we doing opening those windows inside when we need to furnish inside? We can't have a big window coming in and knocking out our furniture. Well, the reality is that, yes, you can plan around it. And if it's better for your windows, you just get used to it.
Yeah.
And you can also simply use the tilt function, not the turn function.
Yeah.
So that's what a lot of clients do. We'll just do it for ventilation. And people in Europe think we're kind of idiots if we got casements that open out and get rained on. Like, why would you ever do that?
Yeah.
And it's kind of true in terms of maintenance.
And plus the wind is going to catch it.
Yeah.
And you have to beef up the hardware.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Turns out they're correct.
Yeah. But I also think it's cultural in a way that, in America, we've got tons of space and we just expand. We just go open out. I don't have this intruding in my space. And in Europe, if you opened yours out and your neighbor opened theirs out, there might not be room in the alleyway to walk by, in that street, those narrow little European streets. So it's like very intrusive in your face. So why would you do that?
We'll bring it inside.
Bring it in.
We'll take our
polite,
own
bring it inside or whatever. But it also
sidewalk is for you.
But also the thing I mentioned about the wind and the elements that you mentioned, those are serious because as that casement goes outside, it's raining. Oh, you got to remember to bring that in. It's not like it's going to destroy the window getting a little water on it, but at the same time, you do that often enough, it wears on it. And that wind, I know you've designed some very big windows, and so have I in some houses.
Want to hear about big windows? So what I usually think of as like the biggest window you can get, I usually think about like 55 to 58 square feet.
Sure. And usually 8 feet
is their maximum.
Is the maximum whatever dimension, just because it's got to go on a truck or a boat or something.
That's right. Some manufacturers have been able to get to 64 square feet. So you get a little bit. And these are for triples. These are triple glazed windows that are fixed.
So heavy.
These are not doubles, but these are like you need a crane. So Bertrand can do a 10 by 14 window.
Wow.
Our rep tells us, yeah. My friend
bigger than this room.
Just told me the only limitation is getting it in a truck. Wow. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can't lift it on your own, but it's really fantastic what we can do with glazing these days.
And we should say that window, that's guaranteed. We haven't talked about tempering, but something you all should know, probably do know if you're a designer, that you are required to have tempered glass in places that are susceptible for to breakage.
That's right. Maybe that's sort of higher risk. Close to doors or like in showers, close to stairs,
Right.
low to the ground, things like that.
Right. And it raises the price, but also when you get them over a certain size,
They're all tempered.
right, they're all tempered and sometimes just to exist, they need to be tempered because they're usually like something like 4 or 5 times stronger when it's tempered, but also they're safer when they break. Like imagine your car window, that's tempered glass. You hit it and it shatters into non-sharp, safe little pebbles as opposed to the lethal shards that, a plate glass, regular glass.
Yeah, they make it so it's small enough that you can swallow. You need to. No, I just made that up.
I was like, what? Oh my God. People are checking out right now. Like, oh, these guys are idiots. Why did I tune in?
So you've got your wood windows,
Yeah.
your wood clad windows.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Materials. Yeah. So like,
You have fiberglass windows,
yep.
right? So we used to specify more fiberglass windows, and you have UPVC windows.
Right. And the UPVC, I think in my mind, like I'm no fan of PVC in general, but for a performance per value per impact, man, on those windows, it's a hard item to resist.
Right. And all our affordable housing, for instance, we will use UPVC windows, but we'll make them triple glazed windows.
Right.
So they really do a good job keeping those apartments warm.
Right.
And you don't worry about natural wood, really, when you have a hard time paying your energy bills at the end of the day.
Right.
Like, that's where your priorities lie.
That's
So that's
pretty well said.
Yeah.
But if you're like, no, I want to see wood, then it'll cost you a little bit more. But these companies, especially these European tilt-turn, actually almost all these companies we've mentioned, the Lowen, Marvin,
McElwain, Unilux, there's a bunch of them.
Oh yeah,
Right?
yeah. And Bertrand,
Bertrand,
great
right.
wood interiors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the problems with wood exteriors is you have to maintain them.
All right.
So,
Something that from a design standpoint, I don't know about you, but I've been caught in my earlier days forgetting maybe about window treatments and their impacts in the design.
oh, right. So I have a lot of things in my mistake room.
Oh yeah,
Like not to
in
screw up again.
your mistake museum, you've got those.
Yeah, we have a little thing in the office called the mistake room. Then whenever one of us makes a mistake, it's just a list. Put it in the mistake room.
Oh, that's really good.
You have to make sure when you have window shades that when they come down, they don't bump into the operator.
That's right.
Right. Otherwise, it sticks out.
So
it's caught.
So this is more of a tilt turn phenomenon because you have a handle on a tilt turn window. And if you're not thinking about the blind coming down, you can roll the blind the other direction, and you just gave yourself 3 more inches.
That's right.
And you might go right past that handle, or maybe even not. We thought on a very recent project we had that all handled and taken care of. Handled. Did you see what I did there?
I did. I saw that.
All right. But the blinds still get, just all it has to do when you have a fancy mechanical blind coming down, oh my God, does that,
yeah.
So we actually had to make some adjustments. And even when I
figured it out?
Oh yeah. Yeah, we have new handles coming.
All right, I got another one from my mistake room.
Excellent. Let's hear it.
Windows that are shaped, say, to match the roof, like either triangular windows or trapezoidal windows.
Yes.
And then you forgot that your client might want shades in front of those windows.
Right. Whoops. A little bit harder to do.
A little bit harder to do. It's you can do it. They're just really expensive.
Well,
and they can come up from the middle up, but they ultimately have to take that turn. So, yeah.
Oof. Yeah, because most blinds are, level.
Right. They don't come down on an angle like that, turns out.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I've been there and lived that one as well.
Right.
What
about you?
Well, for my museum of mistakes?
Yeah. Window shades.
I definitely have that.
Yeah.
I also have the just not leaving room for them because I will have the client who's just or I should say in the past, I've had we just didn't talk about it. Just didn't talk about it. We were doing windows and all that jazz and, so focused on the architecture of it all. And curtains, if you want curtains, you just get curtains afterwards. And well, if it's a tilt-turn window,
Yeah.
that comes into where your curtains are, and so like you better have enough space for the curtains to completely clear that tilt when it comes in. And you also, the client should know that you can't have your curtains closed and your window open at the same time.
That's right.
Because that's not a thing. You can
get shades that are part of the sash. Is that what you're going to say?
That is. They're attached to the sash.
Yeah.
But then you and your client had better understand what that looks like on the inside and how that's going to function.
Yeah, it works. It's a little funny, and you got a little chunk that always just rides along the top of your sash.
It just follows the window.
But it does pretty well.
It's pretty neat. And you may have little tracks or strings or whatever.
Yeah.
That's
pretty good. What else did we forget, Chris?
I don't know. I'm looking at my notes.
Curtains, weird shapes, shade pockets.
You know, you were talking about rules of thumbs.
Yeah.
Rules of thumbs. Pluralized the thumbs.
Because they had two.
Well, I remember we used to always like really have rules for your solar design about like you need a certain percentage of glass on the south side.
Right. And you used to say that. What was that? Like 50% of glass on the south side?
Oh, it was like 23% on the glass. 50% of all your glass should be on the south side. Yeah. Yes, and that should be like 25% of the surface area or something. Right. See, but here's the thing: like you can already hear it in our voices. We've kind of forgotten this. We don't really do that much. We don't really
do square buildings all as much.
That's also true.
Rectangular building. It's not that simple.
And so many times we have clients who are just, like that's our view, and it is to the north. And thank you very much. Please, I want lots of glass there. And we go, oh boy, that's going to be a huge. So the glass in the south, you can make that work for you. You can balance that out and get the heat from it to help balance the loss and do something like have a slab to help catch that, to level out that greenhouse effect of your heat, cycling, wildly. But when it's on the north, it's always just draining, man. It's always just draining the heck out of you. So you have to balance it with light, southern light up high or something like that, or in places to still get your passive solar working. But it's always hard if you've got a lot of glass to the north. Really hard.
And again, like this goes full circle, Chris. So this is just like get smart about your glass, because as architects, as architects, it is our freaking job to make sure our clients see their surroundings, right? If they spend a lot of money for a piece of land, you're going to give them a lot of freaking glass, because that's what they want. That's what they're asking for. Yeah. And it's our job to make sure the building is still comfortable. So let's get a little nerdy and let's get a little techie and let's solve all the problems. Make those buildings pretty and comfortable.
Hey, before we go, I have one pet product for you.
Yes.
I was going to impress you by actually holding it up. But I don't have it. It was so Howard heard of Matthews Brothers.
Yes.
They're vinyl windows made right here in Maine.
Yeah.
He is the first person to walk into my office and put in my hand a piece of vacuum glass. Vacuum insulated glass.
It's real.
It's real, people.
Okay.
And it's coming. This is something that it has been coming for a long time, and we get our hopes up, and then nothing.
Kind of like self-driving cars.
Kind of like
ubiquitous.
Ubiquitous.
Yeah,
it's going to be everywhere.
I hope.
Anyway, but they are actually doing a project right now of 100 units of housing, and it's like a pioneer project with vacuum glass in their window. If Howard walks by, if he stops by again, I'm going to grab him. We'll do a little video so you can see it. But basically, when I hold it, it looks like two pieces of glass kind of laminated together in about the same space of. Fascinating. But if you look even closer, there's like little dots, like every 2 inches. But they're really hard to see. And those little dots are like little tiny glass pillars, keeping the glass apart.
Like sucking together. Yeah.
Because it's a vacuum in there. Maybe not 100% vacuum, but all the air is sucked out. So the conduction between the two is practically zero.
Yeah.
So you get the exact same insulation you get in a big separation like this in one piece of glass. And I think as a byproduct, bird safe because of those.
That's what I was just gonna say.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, what if they made it little colored dots? It would be bird safe.
I think
we
it
didn't
is.
talk about bird safe glass, and I'm glad we're not forgetting.
Oh, you're right. I'm glad we didn't forget.
Because that's another thing that that's gonna be relatively ubiquitous, I think,
Right.
in the future. We're gonna find ways to make bird safe glass a little bit more invisible and a little bit more affordable. Right now, it's just cresting in the market. Right now, there's a bit of a premium. And we're learning what kind of bird-safe glass works to deter bird injuries and deaths.
Right.
So
hopefully that'll become more cheap or cheaper
That's
than
right.
it is now, because it's kind of odd that it's such premium for bird-safe glass. But
right. I think we're learning more about what actually is effective.
right. So vacuum glass, keep your eyes peeled. It's going to be a real thing real soon. I will say on bird-safe glass, have you designed a bird killing machine? Like house?
We've designed more bird killing machines than bird safe machines.
Okay, I want to share something I learned. I don't think is like common knowledge about what, like I had a couple houses that had a lot of bird strikes. Like you could count on at least like 3 a year or something like that, maybe even more. But I have houses with more glass that didn't, and I'm like, what is the difference? Both of those houses had substantial amount of glass that was like on a corner, as in
so they could see through
it,
and they thought they could go through the
they
glass.
thought they could go right through it.
Yeah.
And so I think when you're designing that corner, think about those little birds that you're gonna
and their little bird brains.
and their little bird brains.
They can't make sense of the corner.
Yep. And of course we're doing a great job with our VT on the glass, so you can see right through it.
That's right.
Not that green or tinted. So, all right, you want to call it?
I want to call it. I think we got through our list. We got through our cocktail.
Just about. That was a good one. I'm
That
proud
was
of
a
this
lot of fun.
cocktail.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Oh, remember, this is the Green Architects Lounge. If you like this, Green Architects Lounge. Like, follow, subscribe, do all that business that you do on the socials, and
Email us at
the Green Architects Lounge at gmail.com.
gmail.com.
Cheers.
Cheers. See you soon.